Hi there, beautiful souls. Thank you for watching. I'm Gabrielle, retired medium in Germany, and I like to share some of my otherworldly experiences and insights. So this one is about human history. Someone asked me, what do you know about human history? Well, dear one, that's a big task. I know bits and pieces here and there, and I learned at school, I think, the same things you learned, and I did not question it. And it's more or less the story we are all fed. Like primitive humanoids developed from the apes maybe 2 or 3 million years ago, and then they roamed the earth and developed into some other forms of humans, like the Homo erectus, which was already more looking like we look today, and not this more kind of ape-like being, the hominid. The first ones, the Homo habilis or Homo rudolfensis, 3 million years ago. And then suddenly, around 300,000 years ago, there is this more modern human, the Homo erectus, and yeah, that's the story. And then suddenly, until for a long, long time, there were these kind of primitive ape-like humans that developed a little bit more every time they roamed the earth, and then suddenly 5 or 6 thousand years ago, in several places on the earth, they had civilization. Suddenly they knew agriculture, mathematics, astronomy, music, mathematics, how to build cities and to plan and things like that. You find this in the Sumerian texts, and also Egypt was kind of a civilization instantly, suddenly there, and they had all this knowledge, where shortly before they were kind of cavemen. So that already sounds very strange to me now, with 67 years of experience as a human. Starting like you all started, with the things we were fed in school, and it was always kind of boring learning these years and dates of special things that happened, and it never really related to me, and I never felt resonance. But I started where I felt resonance, and that was Egypt. Egypt always attracted me somehow. Nobody knew how the hieroglyphs, what they really talk about, and it took some time to find out, and they're still not sure whether they can interpret the hieroglyphs the right way. And even if you go back further to the American native Indians, they have the Hopi and others, they have these very interesting petroglyphs with strange symbols and weird creatures and beings with antennas or horns that they etched into the stones. So there's a lot of things that do not match what we are fed with as history. And just a little remark of myself, I like to play with words. If you say it very slowly, it is his story. History is his story. We're living in patriarchal systems since I don't know when, very, very long. And the female is kind of suppressed. In the beginnings, there were more goddesses and also female figures. And nowadays, here in the Western world, we only have the church, and we have kind of 3 male beings like Godfather, the Son, and the Holy Ghost. And in Germany, they all have male articles, is kind of showing that they are all male, and I I don't resonate with that. To me, there's also something wrong. You can find the Trinity in nearly every culture and every religion. The Hindus also have Brahma, Vishnu, and Krishna. They have the creator, the destroyer, and the one who maintains everything. So the divinity or the deity or source, the idea of the divine, is divided into three parts. That makes sense to me, because if this is the sphere of duality and we are learning, to deal with the extremes, so the third position is always like a triangle. It is a higher perspective. It is in the middle, in the neutrality between the 2 points of A and B, the ground line of a triangle as a geometric figure. And it's also the first figure in the sacred geometry. No, it's not the first. The first, of course, is the circle. And only if you make in the middle, in the neutrality, kind of this hypotenuse, the line that goes up to the third point, the higher consciousness, then you can create a triangle. So this idea of three aspects or three main aspects of the divine is embodied in many cultures and many so-called religions. So human history to me now looks very different, because when I started in Egypt and I looked at some of the artifacts, I mean, when I was 16, there was a traveling exhibition of Egyptian artifacts, although also the gold mask of Tutankhamun. And my father kind of ordered the whole family to go there, because he said, well, this might be an opportunity just once in your lifetime. We don't know whether we will ever go to Egypt, so it's coming to a place nearby. Whole family will go there and see this. And I remember that I stood in front of the gold mask and I looked at it, and it kind of triggered me, but I didn't know what to do with it. And then later on, 20 or 30 years later, I had a friend who was learning goldsmith. And I was able to visit her once in her working space. And then I started to think and question, because she showed me how she's working with gold. And I asked myself, remembering the gold mask from 16 years old of Tutankhamun, which I was ordered to see and visit, it was so smooth and also so perfect. So I just couldn't understand how they could have produced something that perfect at that time, maybe 5000 or 4000 BC, when we are told by our history books and history lessons in school that they were kind of primitive and, oh dear, That's just so incredible. I also had, during my graphic design studies at college, I had one class in sacred geometry. I didn't understand it then, and now 30 years later I'm coming back and I'm just, whoa, oh, that makes sense. The gold mask and all the statues in Egypt, they're all looking so beautiful and they are so perfect, because all the ancients used the golden scission or the golden cut from sacred geometry. That's how they made the two parts of the face just alike. So in a normal face like the left side is a bit different from the right side. And at college we did this little trick, cutting a photograph of yourself from your face into half, and cutting another one into half, and then not putting together the two left sides, the left and right side, but the two left sides or the two right sides mirrored. And then you look into your face and you can't recognize yourself because it's looking very, very strange and different. But then you get an idea about the perfect faces from the statues and the gold masks. And the old Egyptians even made the eyes in these masks, not only by painting or something like that. They produced them by inserting crystals and gemstones to form the eye. So if light is touching the mask, the crystal in the eye and the gemstones, they are glittering and it looks as if the eyes are alive. So that's a very special trick they used, as well as the other trick of the Egyptians and the Sumerians. You know, me coming from graphic design and being into drawing, if you see a face in the profile, you don't see this whole eye. This is the front vision. In the profile, you only see a small kind of triangle. You know, if I do like this, you only have this triangle in your eye. That's if you draw a face naturally, you only draw this little triangle and you make a pupil in there. And it's kind of a higher consciousness, and it's a shift in thinking about how to depict statues and things like that. To take the front eye and put it into the profile face, then it's also bigger. That's why all the eyes of the Sumerian reliefs and the Egyptians have bigger eyes. And it is as if the eye is looking directly at you. I think that's where the sayings about the living statues and the living stones are coming from. So there's clearly a different consciousness and more knowledge. And even the Japanese tried to rebuild the Great Pyramid in Egypt, the Giza Pyramid in measure that was less. So and they just couldn't do it. Without the statics and everything and all the cranes we have, they could not perform the same like the Giza Pyramid that's still standing in Egypt. So there's clearly something else at work also. And through my own experiences as a medium and some trials in remote viewing, I know that this information you get by these means, like using your psychic senses or using remote viewing, is kind of very accurate if you stick to the professional setting. You don't have knowledge about what you're remote viewing, so that you're not front-loaded with anything you know and attached to the target. The target is just a number and you don't know anything, and then you go there, you send out your consciousness and you collect data and information. And that's how I came to watch Farsight Institute, a private remote viewing institute, and they did really good and big work about a lot of history, mysteries and things like that. And nearly every ancient sacred site they visited, like the pyramids, there were ETs involved. There was a spacecraft above the scenery that they remote viewed, and there was clearly advanced technology involved, cutting the stones and transporting the stones, because we have all these legends from Stonehenge to the Mayan sites and also in Egypt and other places, that the lore has it that the stones were floating, or Merlin made the stones float to Stonehenge and arrange the way they were. So levitation by sound is now also by our scientists found. They are able to move small objects. That's what they show us. But I do think in secret they already invented and discovered much more, but they don't tell us. Same with Edgar Cayce's prophecies about the Hall of Records under the left paw of the Sphinx. I'm sure they already found it. They know that there is underground structures and tunnels and halls and rooms and buildings and things like that. But they don't tell us. They keep it for themselves, and well, that's how it is. And then I came to look at the OOP artifacts. That's a funny thing. Means out of place. OOP. And we like to say oops if something happened or fell down. So the OOP artifacts are very interesting. There is, for example, a 200,000-year-old hammer. Looks a bit old-fashioned, like from the 18th or 19th century, with still the wooden stick in it, and it is embedded in stone. And the stone and the strata where they found and dug up the stone with the embedded hammer, it's called the Texas, it's called the London, Texas hammer, because there's a town in America in Texas called London, and that's where they found this hammer. So if the hammer is embedded in 200,000-year-old stones, and we are told that only primitive hominids at that time roamed the earth, how can this be? And I remember this saying in the Bible, there is nothing new under the sun. So thinking of the field, that everything is in the fields, and we are a sphere, and everything else is kind of an invisible, energetic, vibrational sphere full of frequencies and vibrations and things. We are a sphere, we are vibrating, we have the knowledge, but we don't know it, and we are misinformed. So everything is kind of encompassed in the idea of the sphere and of vibration. And Tesla also talked about that we only understand the universe if we start to think in energy, vibration, and frequency. So that's where it's going. There is so much, and it's to me now all more or less wrong. I think it was quite differently, and I asked my spirit contacts about that, and they more or less confirmed my doubts about our history that we are told and fed with. And they said, no, it's different. So there were all the planetary bodies are spheres, and they are all kind of learning spheres for Source, which in the beginning, although there is no beginning, Source as singularity of consciousness could not experience itself, because as a unit of consciousness, it knew everything, had everything, could do everything, but it was just consciousness. So it had to create a split, and it was splitting itself first into two, like the cell does, and it split into itself into duality, into male and female, or however you want to put names onto duality terms. It is necessary if you want to experience yourself. You have to create kind of a mirror appearance that mirrors back to you what you can't perceive, although it's all within you. So Source created all this, created the learning spheres where the souls, the created souls, go and develop and evolve, and everything is kind of managed and governed by the big cycles, the cosmic cycles. So we know now that the Earth is not such a stable planet. Every 25,000 years or so, the great year of the Mayan calendar, there is something happening, a solar flash, an ice age, or a flood, or volcanic activity, and the Earth is kind of reset and forms new continents and new space to develop new forms of life. So we had on Earth many waves of evolving life forms. Of course, it started with the water, and as there is the first stage of DNA, which is called RNA, nearly everywhere, and especially in water. There was a science experiment. David Wilcock also talked about that, where they just took some water in some kind of vessel and they kept it in a laboratory and just used frequencies and tried to experiment how the water would react with different frequencies. And after 24 hours, when they came back the next day, they found that in this water already RNA and DNA had formed because of the frequencies they attached to or sounded upon to the water in the vessel. So source and the cosmic gallery of planetary bodies and everything in our solar system is kind of emitting frequencies. They already know this. There was a guy who transformed kind of the noise that is in the TRAPPIST-1 star system they recently found. Every planet is, because of the rotation, making some kind of noise or a sound. And there was a guy who transformed these sounds into music. And you could see that the TRAPPIST system had its star, the sun, and then around in orbits which weren't not exactly spherical, even a small of I don't know, 1 or 2 degrees already makes it elliptical, and in our solar systems the orbits are also more elliptical than spherical. So you could see all the planets, and they were all kind of neatly lined up like in a necklace and had their orbits, and they made a sound, and all together they made something so wonderful. It sounded like a music piece, like an orchestra playing something. And it was really very perfect. And when I saw this in a YouTube video, I instantly compared it, the TRAPPIST system with all its planets, to our solar system, the sun and our planets. And I came across the asteroid belt, and I thought, well, that's exactly where in the TRAPPIST system there is a planet. So where does all this debris come from in the asteroid belt? Well, that was a planet, and that was kind of the position of the so-called super Earths that they found in other star systems as well, a bit bigger like Earth, but still in the habitable Goldilocks zone. And this planet exploded because of a war, and Mars was not the planet, but it was a moon orbiting the super Earth. And they both had civilizations on them. I think it was the elongated skull people. And although on the moon and on the super Earth they were kind of very similar, they went to war with each other. And in that, the planet exploded, and And Jupiter took a lot of the bigger parts, but there's still enough debris that shows you that it was something before. Although the scientists nowadays say when they simulate and calculate back that it's not enough debris to make up a planet. Yes, of course, because it happened very, very long time ago, and Jupiter was drawing a lot of parts because of his or its gravity towards Jupiter, so there, of course, is missing debris. So we're not informed about our history of the solar system and of the Earth and everything else. It's totally different. I don't believe any longer in history. I think we should bring up now her story, the herstory, because only if you put together the seemingly separated parts, then the whole thing starts to make a different sense. So if you go back to Sumeria, Mesopotamia, or Egypt 5 or 6 or maybe 7,000 years ago, where they said that civilization started, looking at the Egypts and looking at the Sumerians have the cuneiform tablets where they even write that they got their knowledge about forming civilizations, about architecture and mathematics and agriculture and animal husbandry and everything like that. They got it from the sky people, the Anunnaki that came from the sky, from the higher realms or whatever. To them, they came from the sky and they brought the knowledge. And the Egyptians more or less referred to Atlantis. And via our kind of false history trail, we think we, in the Western world, we relate to the Greek-Roman culture and then before the Egyptians. And then there was the myth of Atlantis, and everybody was fantasizing and assuming, but nobody really knew real facts about that. But the Egyptians had contact, and it is told by remote viewing as well as by different mediums like Edgar Cayce as well, that Atlantis knew of the coming fall and sent out really ships and knowledge to create halls of records all over the whole planet. So there are other places with records, and in the Buchej Mountains, where Michael Sulla also had some episodes of his Exopolitics YouTube show about, there was found a cave with advanced technology and tables as high as 2 or 3 persons, kind of made for giants or for bigger people that were double our size. And they had force fields and couldn't enter in the beginning, and they had 3-dimensional holographic things popping out of the tables if someone with the right DNA passed by and touched it to activate it. So there is so much stuff that does not fit the history we are told. I'm just still trying to put together all the pieces, the bits and pieces I know, but my picture about the true history of humans is very different. I know also by Paul Wallace from The Fifth Kind and his wonderful YouTube videos together with the ex-Vatican Bible translator Mauro Biglino, that it's not like it seems. We are kind of tinkered in our DNA by several ETs or ET races, sky people that came down. Some of them more negatively oriented, wanted to conquer and get the riches of the earth and use the population as workers or slaves. and others really wanted to help and evolve and develop the human species. So there's a wide variety of motives, intents, and so on. And it's just, it's kind of a mess, you know. What I found out researching and asking my spirit guides is more or less the same picture that Alex Collier and also Elena Danan and some others are kind of giving. There were in the beginning, although there is no beginning, you can't even talk. Our language is totally wrong. We talk about the afterlife. There is no afterlife in reality, because the soul is eternal and immortal. So what we call afterlife, it doesn't make sense at all. Okay, back to the point where I started, and it's really hard to stick to that point of the history, because there's so much ideas and memories and so on. Okay, back to the point. There were 24, maybe 22, they're not sure about that, but more than 20 advanced extraterrestrial races or beings that came to the earth and wanted to further the evolutionary process, which takes place by itself in very long cycles. And they wanted to fasten the process. So they mixed in their DNA. We have the DNA of over 20 star races, and mixing through all the centuries with other ones. So we are a very interesting life force, and that's why some of the more regressive ETs, the lesser races as they are called by the spirit world, came and tried to abuse and take something from our DNA without developing their own consciousness. They just wanted to take it and use it, and maybe use it with together with their technology, but they didn't do the so-called inner work. And so that explains why some of the abductions are negative, because they're after our DNA. Humans are very valuable and interesting because of the potential we have. We have the potential of 24 or more over than 20 star races that are much more evolved spiritually and technically, and they are much older than us. So they are kind of our older brothers in the universe or the cosmos. And in these cycles, like the Mayan calendar had the great year of 25,000, civilizations rise and fall, and if they don't extinct themselves by going to war and not learning about duality, if you don't learn about duality, you go to war, the two sides, black and white and light and dark, and everybody is fighting. And that's where they want to keep us, because then we are so busy with fighting and we don't wake up to our own divine inner self, the light being that is within us, and start to reconnect and get the knowledge back. And we don't need teachers or gurus. It's all in our field. If you open up and have a question, just ponder with this question inside yourself and wait for an answer. It will come. Sometimes I just hear a word or a sentence in a movie or on the street where somebody else is talking to someone else, and it's got nothing to do with me, but there's this one word that I hear passing by, and it's triggering me, and I get it that my spirit guides wanted me to hear that. What we call a lucky accident or a lucky incident or something like that is in reality the so-called synchronicity when spirit is talking to us. If you recognize it very well, then you can follow that hint. And I learned to listen to these hints, and I learned to follow and research. And researching, I found all the things that they already more or less told me, but I couldn't believe it in the beginning. So I wanted to do some of my own work researching, and really it's confirming more or less everything that I found out up to now, which is not matching the history we are told. So we're kind of an experiment. That was the first word I heard in contact with spirit, that they said Earth is the great experiment. And because of free will, Source also allows, to a certain degree, negative counterforces to develop and do their thing while others do their thing. So it's about overcoming duality, not sticking there and thinking this is all. That's why the Earth School is so famous and is called one of the hardest and heaviest schools in the universe. And you won't believe it, many souls are kind of queuing in line to incarnate here, and not everybody is allowed to incarnate here. And then we have this false matrix thing where the counterparts or counterforces, the dark ones, if you like to call them like that, they kind of installed mechanisms to keep us here, the Hindus are talking about the wheel of incarnation, and they wanted to escape from that. Why do you want to escape if it's all fine and good and divine? So there is something wrong. You don't have to escape the divine. You have to escape what is wrong. And you want to escape what feels wrong, and you don't want to live that. So it makes perfect sense to me now that the Hindus developed all these special routes and routines and techniques and ways to become more conscious, to connect with your inner self via meditation and other things, to reconnect and get out of this kind of false matrix. The Gnostics and Rosicrucians and Hermeticism is also telling the same story, like Farsight talking about the reincarnation trap that kind of recycles the souls always into a new life on Earth, and seems as if you're not free to go back where you come from the Pleiades or Sirius or wherever. And you're kind of kept in this cycle. And then there are even coming your sky family trying to rescue you and incarnating here as well, trying to get you out, and they are trapped as well, and things like that. That all sounds not very attractive to me. So although I found myself kind of guilty with escapism, I did not want to be here from the very beginning, and I always wanted to get out, and I thought I'm in the wrong life and everything's wrong here, or I am wrong. No, I'm not wrong, you're not wrong. We only have to learn what is real and true, and then go with that and make our choice, make a good choice. And within the big cycles now, it's really the time, like in the channeled message of Gabriel, it came through that now is the time. And we're called to wake up and to follow what resonates with us inside. So, and I already told in another video that they the spirit world told me that Sasquatch is kind of the original human form that developed on the planet. And some of the negative ETs are also after them and abducting their youngs to take DNA and create their own hybrids and whatever, same as they do with the humans. And then there is this very interesting story that in Africa, in Sierra Leone, only in that place there is found a special kind of gemstone called Larimar or sky stone, and it is very light blue and very interesting. And the scientists said it's a material that is not from this earth, and it's only found there. And then there is this story of the Lacerta files, is Lacerta. That was the story of a reptilian female that met in Sweden with a human, and during the contact she revealed her who she really was, that she's a reptilian, and she also projected onto him an image that he was allowed to see her in her own true form, because before she appeared to him as a normal human woman with brown hair, and only after they established some more contact she took off this mental projection that many species are able to use, because they developed spiritually much more than we. They're able to talk telepathically and to project images. That's very often, I think, confused with this word of shape-shifting. I don't think they really change their body or the form they are in. I think they make you see something else. In higher dimensions, without physical forms, of course, a lot of these beings can take whatever form they want. That's a different thing. And so this reptilian lady talked a lot about Earth and human history, and to me sounded a bit arrogant, but okay. They think the endemic reptilians that live inside the Earth, they think Earth belongs to them. That does not make sense to me because of the evolutionary waves of life forms. I know that first, of course, there were, because of the water where all life begins, the aquatic beings, then came the amphibic beings, then came the insectoids, then the avians, the bird people, and then the reptilians and the mammals, the humanoids that came from the mammals. So I don't think that they are the owners of the earth. They only think they are. And they had in former times contact in Africa with the humans there, and they reported this story that they, the reptilians from inner earth, shot down a craft from the Elohim, which was kind of pyramidal shaped. Interesting, isn't it? And this, because it's a material more like plasma or created by consciousness, maybe it was already a conscious ship or an organic ship inhabited by a consciousness. However, this transformed into something else when it was shut down and brought down to the earth. That's why we perceive it as a gemstone that looks light blue and very interesting and so on, and still has some energetic qualities if you're able to feel into that. So they told the humans these are the bad guys, the Elohim, that show up with craft, and shot it down. And in other places, these Elohim ships came down and released humans, kind of ready-made humans. And I was wondering about that because there's this story about the Ark. Noah's Ark is not just one story. You find it in every culture. You find the story of the flood also in every culture, more or less. And I think we got it wrong. It's not a wooden boat where also two pairs of animals were kind of saved. I think it's just kind of customized for humans, or human perception, humanized it in that way. It makes much more sense that it was from the sky people or the advanced elder brothers in space that in kind of on behalf of Source assisted us on this unstable planet and created these big arks with landscape and nature, flora and fauna in it, where the people that were consciously ready could walk in and felt drawn to when there was a catastrophic earth change happening at the end of one of these big cycles. And they were taken with the ark kind of out of time, and while the earth reset and formed new continents and everything, then they came back. To them it might have been only a few days on earth, and I don't know how many hundreds or thousands of years it took to reset, but to them it was only a short time, and then they came back onto Earth, were kind of released and started from scratch anew, but assisted by the space people and their technology and their help and consciousness and knowledge. And also some groups already were doing that, and they were using pyramids all over the world, because pyramids have a lot of special I'm missing an English word. They are able to produce a lot of effects. There was a guy who built a pyramid just for his house, and after some years he had to change something, because the pyramid obviously was drawing water from the ground, and suddenly he had kind of a lake around his pyramidal house. So they are using earth energy by the form, they are concentrating it, and they are also drawing water, and they are used to communicate via energy and frequency with the star people or with other civilizations on other planets. And they do a lot of things. They heal, they improve crop and water and things you put in there. They even preserve human bodies for a longer time, and they help connect with higher consciousness and so on. They're kind of universal energy machines that help create civilizations. And always some groups split it off and went another way and did something else. But in the great scheme, this happened several times, not only one time. And so I think that now everybody is kind of watching. We are told that more and more spaceships will show themselves, and we are asked to look up more into the sky. And it's risky for them, because this planet is still not totally free. There are still dark forces and military going against the positive ETs. So they have to be careful, and if they show up, it's a bit risky and dangerous for them. They could be attacked by our military. And they do it nevertheless, because they want to show us we are here with you, until no one can deny any longer that they are there, and they have never been a threat. It's the threat trying to tell you that the good ones are the threat. So one thing that you can take kind of for real is that whatever you are told from the official sources, think of the opposite, and then you are closer to the truth than if you follow what you're told. So, okay, history, that's such a big task. I don't know whether I will ever finish this video in a good way. I'm jumping here and there, it's difficult. I think history is totally different, and human history especially. We were created, and then the elder brothers, the sky people, the space ETs, came and interfered, some for good, some for the contrary. And now we're at the ending of the big cycle again. So now it is special. Spirit World says, now it is special because the whole planet, with everything in it on it, will ascend. And that has never happened before. Before there were only small groups or single individuals who reached a point of higher consciousness and connected with their divine soul. Maybe like Lao Tse or Buddha and all the messengers that Source always sent through the centuries to us to remind us of our real divine nature. And what did we do with the messengers? Most of them were killed or crucified or whatever, or ridiculed. That's always the same procedure. And now we're here again. Now it's big time. Now everything has to follow the cosmic rays, information and frequencies that are coming in. With the solar eclipse now, there are coming very, very strong energies. It's mostly theta and delta, and also some gamma waves that work on our DNA and on our consciousness, and we will get all more psychic. And for those who are in denial that something like psychic skills exist and that we all have them and that you can learn and train with them and get more information and perceive more, well, if you don't think that this is possible, then you will have a harder time to get used to the higher vibrational rays that are coming in now from our soul, from the whole cosmos, and triggering our consciousness to grow and uplift and elevate. I think that's it for today, for as much as I can go. Maybe I'll do a second part, but this time it's big time, and that's why everybody is there looking at us, watching us, trying to help and assist that we make the right choice this time. Because last time in Atlantis there was interference, was kind of like the wrong choice, going too much into technology and mental and thought energy, and even creating a bigger ego, a spiritual ego that can block the way and misinterpret and get things wrong or distort things. Because it's not the divine self, it's a spiritual ego. That's something else. Might know a lot of things and seems very knowledgeable and everything, but it's not doing the inner work. That's it. So Atlantis is kind of repeating now, because in the big cycles there are smaller cycles. Some of the planets have a generational aspect. They don't work in your horoscope only on you, on a single person during your lifetime. They are for whole generations or epochs, and their influence is for greater epochs in our so-called time, and greater amounts of people or beings, if they connect with that. So kind of Atlantis is repeating now because in our history there are also cycles that repeat. You can find out if you look back in history that nearly every 200 years there's a war. And it is also in the cycles, and of course the counterforce uses these smaller cycles to keep us in the cycle and in the war, and if the contrary, and fighting each other, and not going into unity consciousness and just going up to the next realm, the next world, which is a higher frequency world, which is 4D or 5D or who knows. So it is very important right now that we make the right choice, everyone for himself. What do you want? What do you really want? And I think a common ground where we all can meet is we all want peace. We are sick and tired of war and fighting and all this wrongdoing. At least I am, and I assume many others are as well. So it's time now to make the right choice, go inside, connect with our divine self, which is kind of easy to reach by our heart, and take the first-hand information and not the second or third-hand information that's brought to us by our authorities or schools and so on. First-hand information is what you experience in your heart. If you use your psychic skills or in meditation, go inside and ask your questions there. And wait for the answers you get, the hints, the ideas, the sounds, the pictures you see. Maybe you smell something. It is a saying that when angels appear or are around, that sometimes it smells like flowers. That's one of their signs. And if you want special contact, you can make appointments and special signs that only you and this other being know, so that there is less interference and no one can up and show up as Archangel so-and-so or whatever, or your deceased father, and it's just a trickster energy trying to deceive you. So I hope I got something at least together in this what do I know about human history? At least I know most of what we are told is wrong. You can do your own homework, start researching, or follow some of the good addresses like Dr. Michael Suller is bringing really good information, and some others as well. And you will learn to discern between what is right and wrong or false and true by working with these informations and doing your own research. So I want to leave you with that now, already long enough. Thank you for watching, dear souls. Blessings, love and light onto your path. Bye.